Hey everyone, welcome to another deep dive with us.
Yes, welcome.
This time we're exploring one of the most iconic scenes in all of Shakespeare.
Arguably the most iconic.
That's true. Act 3, Scene 2 of Hamlet.
Oh, yeah, this is a good one.
So if you're listening, you're probably prepping for a class discussion or maybe even an essay.
Oh, I bet you're nervous about that essay.
Right. Well, don't sweat it.
Mhm.
We're going to break down everything you need to know
To ace that class.
to impress your teacher and maybe even to actually enjoy this masterpiece.
Enjoy Hamlet. What?
It can happen. Okay, so before we get too far,
Yeah.
let's set the stage.
Literally.
Ha, right? Act 3, Scene 2. This is where things really start to heat up.
Absolutely pivotal scene.
We've got the play within a play.
Oh, yeah, the Mousetrap.
Hamlet's most famous soliloquy.
To be or not to be?
Well, actually, that's from a different scene.
Oh, right.
But we do get some pretty intense soliloquies in this scene.
Definitely.
And we see Claudius's true colors start to show.
The mask slips.
Exactly.
Oh
So
my
buckle up because we're going deep.
Deep into Hamlet.
Okay, so the scene opens with Hamlet giving the players some acting advice.
Remember, those are the actors.
Right. And he tells them to hold the mirror up to nature. What do you think he means by that?
Well, it's all about authenticity, right? Like he's saying, don't overact, don't be fake, just reflect real life.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Especially considering how much fakeness Hamlet is surrounded by in the Danish court.
Exactly. It's like he's craving something real, something genuine. And bad acting is just another layer of deception.
And we know how much Hamlet hates deception.
Oh, yeah.
He's seen enough of it to last a lifetime.
So this idea of art imitating life, of the theater reflecting reality, it's a big deal to Hamlet.
It is. And it's something your teacher might ask you about. Like, why is this so important to him?
Ooh, good question. It's almost like he sees the play as a way to expose the truth.
To unmask the liars?
Exactly. Which is exactly what he's trying to do with Claudius.
The ultimate unmasking.
Now, speaking of unmasking, let's talk about Hamlet's relationship with Horatio.
Ah, yes. The one true friend. Right. When Horatio enters the scene, Hamlet's whole demeanor changes.
It's like a breath of fresh air for him.
He calls Horatio a man that fortune's buffets and rewards hath ta'en in with equal thanks.
Meaning basically that Horatio is a stand-up guy. No matter what life throws at him, he stays true to himself.
Which is exactly what Hamlet admires about him.
In a world of backstabbers and manipulators, Horatio is a rock.
So your teacher might ask you to compare and contrast Hamlet's relationship with Horatio to his other relationships.
Like with Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, for example.
Yeah. They're supposed to be his friends, but they're totally spying on him for Claudius.
Talk about fake friends.
Right. So Horatio represents this true, genuine connection that Hamlet so desperately needs.
It's a reminder that not everyone in the court is corrupt.
Okay, so we've got this theme of authenticity simmering.
Like a pot on the stove.
And then bam, the king and queen arrive with their whole entourage, and the play within a play begins.
The Mousetrap is set.
And the audience knows what Claudius doesn't. This play is designed to expose him.
Talk about dramatic irony.
Right. We're in on the secret, and it's making the tension skyrocket.
We can practically cut it with a knife.
And to add even more fuel to the fire,
Yeah.
Hamlet keeps making these cryptic comments.
Right, little whispers of poison.
He even says wormwood at one point.
It's like he's relishing in Claudius's discomfort.
So if your teacher asks about the significance of the play within a play, think about it as a mini Hamlet.
It's reflecting all the major themes and conflicts of the bigger play.
Deception, guilt, revenge, madness.
It's all there in miniature form.
And it's all building towards this incredible climax.
When Claudius can't take it anymore,
He jumps up, yells, "Give me some light away," and storms out of the room.
the jig is up.
So why do you think Claudius reacts so strongly?
Well, the play is basically reenacting his own crime.
Right. It's like holding up a mirror to his darkest deeds.
And it's all his deepest fears and anxieties come flooding to the surface.
It's like watching a horror movie about your own worst nightmare.
Exactly. And this is the moment when his guilt becomes undeniable.
The mask finally slips.
So if your teacher asks about the turning point of the play, this scene is at
It's the moment everything changes.
the point of no return.
And it sets the stage for all the tragedy that's to come.
Oh yeah, things are about to get messy.
But we'll save that for part 2 of our deep dive.
Stay tuned. Welcome back, folks. Ready for more Hamlet?
I am. Let's pick up where we left off. Claudius just stormed out of the room after the play within a play.
Talk about a dramatic exit.
Right. And everyone's left wondering what's going to happen next.
The tension is thicker than pea soup.
But before we get to the fallout, let's talk about Hamlet's reaction.
Oh yeah. He goes into full-on soliloquy mode.
And this one is a doozy. He's talking about drinking hot blood and doing bitter business.
This is where we see the dark side of Hamlet.
The revenge-fueled side.
He's so close to taking action against Claudius.
But then he doesn't. Why not?
That's the million-dollar question. Your teacher's going to want to know why Hamlet hesitates.
Is it fear? Is it morality? What's holding him back?
Well, remember, Hamlet's not your typical revenge hero. He's a thinker. He overthinks everything.
He's got to weigh all the options, consider all the consequences.
And he's also wrestling with his own conscience. He doesn't want to become a monster himself.
So even though he's furious with Claudius, he's not ready to act rashly.
He needs to be absolutely certain of his next move.
Which brings us to the recorder scene.
Yes, the infamous recorder.
Hamlet's messing with Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, asking if they think he's easy to play like a pipe.
It's a brilliant metaphor.
He's basically calling them out on their manipulation.
They think they can control him, use him for their own purposes.
But Hamlet's not having it.
He sees right through their charade.
This scene also highlights the importance of music in the play.
Yes. It's not just a random prop. The recorder symbolizes truth and authenticity.
Things that are sorely lacking in the Danish court.
And when Hamlet asks, "Do you think I am easier to be played on than a pipe?" It's like a punch to the gut.
He's basically saying, you think you can manipulate me like a musical instrument?
And of course, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern deny it. But we know the truth.
They're pawns in Claudius's game.
And Hamlet's the one who sees the whole board.
So what's the takeaway from this scene?
Well, for one thing, it shows how cunning Hamlet is. He's not just a brooding philosopher.
He can play the game too.
And he's not afraid to use his wit and intelligence to expose the truth.
But it also reveals how deeply he's been betrayed by his so-called friends.
That sense of isolation is only going to grow as the play goes on.
Now, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
We've got one more scene to cover.
the one where Hamlet has a chance to kill Claudius but doesn't.
Oh, man. That's a tough one.
But we'll get to that in part 3.
Stay tuned, folks.
All
Right, back to Hamlet.
Back to the drama. We left off with Hamlet ready to take revenge.
Yeah, but there's a twist.
A big one. He has the perfect opportunity to kill Claudius.
Claudius is literally kneeling, praying, totally vulnerable.
You'd think Hamlet would jump at the chance.
But he hesitates.
He overthinks it as usual.
Big time. And this is where we get another one of those famous soliloquies.
The one where he talks about sending Claudius to heaven?
Yeah, because he thinks if Claudius is praying, he'll go straight to heaven.
And Hamlet doesn't want that. He wants Claudius to suffer in the afterlife.
He wants him to go to hell, basically.
So he decides to wait for a better moment.
A time when Claudius is sinning, when his soul is black with evil.
Talk about holding a grudge.
Hamlet takes revenge very, very seriously.
So this scene is crucial for a couple of reasons.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
First, it shows how much Hamlet's thoughts and actions are driven by religion.
Even though he questions a lot of things.
Right. He still believes in heaven and hell and the importance of dying in a state of grace.
Which is kind of ironic considering he's contemplating murder.
Right. Second, this scene highlights Hamlet's tendency to delay.
His procrastination, if you will.
He's always thinking, always analyzing, always finding reasons to put things off.
It's like he's afraid of making a mistake.
Or maybe he's just afraid of taking responsibility for his actions.
That too. It's a complex mix of motivations.
So if your teacher asks you about this scene, be prepared to discuss Hamlet's internal conflict.
The battle between his desire for revenge and his moral scruples.
And don't forget the religious context.
It plays a huge role in Hamlet's decision-making.
Okay, so to wrap up our deep dive into Act 3, Scene 2.
This scene is a roller coaster.
It's got everything: dramatic irony, suspense, philosophical musings, and even a bit of humor.
Don't forget the humor.
Right, like when Polonius is trying to figure out what shape the cloud looks like.
Oh yeah, the camel, the weasel, the whale.
It's a nice little break from all the intensity.
But even those seemingly lighthearted moments have a deeper meaning.
They show the absurdity of the court, the way people are constantly trying to please the king.
And the way appearances can be deceiving.
Which brings us back to that central theme of authenticity.
The thing that Hamlet values above all else.
So as you're studying this scene, keep these key takeaways in mind.
Look for the symbolism, the metaphors, the subtle hints that Shakespeare drops.
Pay attention to the characters' motivations, their relationships, the choices they make.
And don't be afraid to ask questions.
Challenge the text. Dig deeper. Explore different interpretations.
That's what makes Shakespeare so endlessly fascinating.
He gives us the words, but it's up to us to find the meaning.
And that's what makes studying Hamlet so rewarding.
Well said. I hope you enjoyed this deep dive.
Me too. It's always fun to explore the complexities of Hamlet.
And if you're listening, get ready to impress your teacher with your newfound knowledge.
You got this.
Thanks for joining us and happy studying.